Hello, everybody. This is Manifesting with Meg, conversations with extraordinary people. And you are going to love my guest today. You're going to feel like you're walking on cloud nine when we're done because she is a magical manifester. This is season 7, year of live, laugh, love, and play. This is Michelle Glogovac, and she is here to shine an amazing light on all things podcasting and tell us a lot about her journey. And without further ado, I want to remind everybody that this is episode 129, Romance and its Magical Dance. March is the month of profound wisdom. Bring that on. Thank you very much. And a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss. How will we serve? Bring it all on, all the wisdom. I can't wait. And without further ado, we are just a conversation away from extraordinary. So time to wake up to a universe packed with possibility. Welcome, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm so much better after hearing all of that.
Oh my God. Well,
You're amazing.
No,
I love it.
This is the Mutual Admiration Society because I literally got to follow you and see what you do and how you do it. And I just love people like you. You inspire others and you shine in a way that lights a spark for others to either follow or to embrace their own. So I want to share with everybody a little bio as to who Michelle Glogovac is, the podcast matchmaker. She's also a podcast publicist, author of How to Get on Podcasts, published by McGraw Hill in 2024. So just recently in January. Congratulations.
Thank you.
She's the host of the award-winning podcast, My Simplified Life. Love that. It just sounds so good rolling off the tongue. My Simplified Life. May it all be that way, right? She works with entrepreneurs, authors, and experts to hone their storytelling abilities, grow their businesses, and elevate themselves as thought leaders. Michelle's a wife, mom of 2, stepmom of 2, and a fur mom. Yay, love dog people or cat people. She has her BA and MS in law and is the founder and CEO of the MLG Collective. Okay. I've got greatness in the studio today. Welcome to the show, Michelle. It's so great to have you. And I definitely think that the beauty of the theme today is just perfect because today is Romance and Its Magical Dance. It's the quote by Carolyn Gold Highbroom. She's an American professor and feminist author during the month of International Month of Women. This is even better. Romance is the glamour which turns the dust of everyday life into a golden haze. How beautiful is that? And to believe that romance exists in the world is a gift. To opening up the feeling of excitement and mystery associated with a love for all things, to surrender to this amazing dance of life. We can reach new planes of joy as we journey through our days. And I love the key to bliss. Be romanced by your day. Experience a beautiful sunset. Experience a beautiful conversation. I turn it to you. What are your thoughts on this? And let's take it away.
I love it because I think that we think of romance as something between a couple, and yet it's not. It is so much more when you look outside and like the sunset or the beach, and all of that can bring romance even just within yourself. Like to me, romance is like the happiness. It's a feeling. It doesn't necessarily have to be just between two people. And talking about nature reminds me of I'm working with a client right now whose photo book is coming out. It's called Still. It's after her blog, where she's taken a photo every day for over a decade of some part of nature. And in the book, you find out that we have 72 micro seasons. So it's not just the 4 seasons that we're all used to, but every 5 days, there's a new season that emerges. And after discovering that, I have found this romantic season just in my backyard as I look out the kitchen window and see the neighbor's magnolia tree blossoming and changing. And it's awakened something new in me. So I feel like this all kind of combines into it of seeing parts of nature that in 5 days are going to look completely different. And who else is noticing that if not you?
Oh, that's so beautiful. And it kind of goes with one of my favorite quote in the world is Mary Oliver is living a conscious life. Pay attention, be astonished, and tell all about it. And I think that even the concept of the 72 micro seasons, I've never heard of that, by the way. And
Neither had I.
that you
Yeah.
can literally change your perspective as how things are unfolding by virtue of a new way of seeing that, because you worked with this person who has captured that.
Yes.
Wow. Mind blown. I love that. No, and I love, it's true. Romance is not just between two people. It could be between you and nature in so many different ways. One of the things that you can share with us, like, is your journey and how you got to where you are today, because this is what you did in the past to what you do now is so amazingly contrasting at the same time. It's tell us, share with that with us.
It is, and yet it isn't. And I'll get to that because so many people have asked, well, how'd you go from this to that?
Yeah.
And so I had to take some time to ponder it. And I have an answer for you. But so when I was 5 years old, I wanted to be an attorney. I wanted to be like you, Meg. Uh, I carried a briefcase to school in kindergarten, and I searched out which school could I get my bachelor's, where I majored in law. And so I went to UC Santa Barbara, majored in law, and I needed a part-time job because college costs money. And so
Yeah.
I could walk to the airport, and they were hiring customer service people at the private terminal. So I was hired my sophomore year. I became the bookkeeper somehow. I was then customer service trainer nationwide. And when I graduated, they gave me a benefit and salaries. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to stay here. That's fine.
Oh,
And 18 years later, I was still there, not in the same spot, but still in aviation.
yeah.
And I had, during that time, I had also gone back and gotten my master's. I started law school. I miscarried my first child and said, let's pause that. And then once I had both children, the law school came back and said, we know you still have all these units. We've started a master's program. We can transfer them and you'll be done in a year. And I was like, yep, sign me up.
Oh,
So at
wow.
least now I have a degree to go with all of the work that I had started already. So I did that, but then I was laid off when my kids are a year and 3 weeks apart, because like I said, I had the miscarriage and it took a long time to have the first. And then the second, poof, there she was. So I was laid off from my corporate aviation job. And I thought, what can I do that I can be at home with them, make a living, contribute financially, but that makes the world a better place for them? Because keeping the wealthy in the air and saving them money just wasn't really moving the needle, I felt, for the future of my children.
Yeah.
And a friend from my birthing class said, oh, there is this life and business coach and she's launching a podcast. I was like, how do you listen to one? 2018. No, podcasts have been around for over 20 years, but they only became popular in the last 5 years or so.
Right.
So I discovered the purple button on my iPhone, and I started listening to this woman who said, we all have a purpose and a passion. And I was like, yeah, that's what I need to figure out what mine is. What am I meant to do? And so I was putting on my social media, like, I'm on this path. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, but this woman says we all have a purpose and a passion. And I'm trying social media management and networking events and event planning. And I didn't like any of it.
Yeah.
And she reached out to me and said, do you want to pitch me to be on podcasts? Because obviously you like what I'm saying. You get it. It resonates.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, I will do that. Yes, I would like to try that. And so I dove
We gotta
in.
stop
Yeah.
you. The woman that you were following reached out to you
Mm-hmm.
to pitch her podcast.
Yes.
Wow. How did that happen? How did that happen?
Because I kept tagging her.
Oh, you did.
I was listening and I would tag her and be like, listen to her. Like, I got to do something. I'm listening. I don't know what it is, but I'm on this journey, and I download, whatever freebies she had. And I was that was what I was doing. But then when she said, do you want to pitch me? I'm like, well, I got to figure out, what is a podcast all about?
Yeah.
So I took a course. I don't like editing, which is why I have an editor, but I figured out everything there was to produce a podcast. So I ended up actually producing her show, producing others, pitching her, and I fell in love with the pitching part. The production part, I went, I was sick and tired of people coming at 5 o'clock on a Monday night going, oh yeah, I forgot to send you my episode. Can you edit and get this done and do all the show notes so it goes live at 5 a.m? It's like, no, that's not what working for myself is supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And so I said, I'm going to get rid of that and I'm going to focus on the pitching part. And something that I have one really good friend who's like, whatever you say you're going to do, you're like, I'm just going to do this and I'm going to make it happen.
I love it.
So that's what I did. I was like, I'm going to get rid of the production part and I'm just going to pitch clients. And that is what my agency does. That's all we do. I don't produce any more shows, and I absolutely love it. And to come full circle to how the two are related, I loved my career for 18 years because of the people. I
Yeah.
knew everybody's birthday. I knew anniversaries. I was telling you this before that I would, send out little cards every single month, handwritten ones. And that's basically what I do today is I get to become the number one fan of every client. I get to connect with hosts. I get to tell stories. And so it's all about the people and the relationships. And so that's how the two are actually related.
Oh my God, I love it. And you're so aligned with me because I really do believe it's about the people and the relationships, the interconnectedness that goes toward, like before I was saying, because I'm doing a master's in positive and happiness. It's the interconnectedness around the whole being principle of wellness. And that is so amazing that you found your way. It's like such a process, isn't it? Like 20 years the woman that you were working with had a podcast. It was only in the last 5 years that she even showed up in that way, that you were able to find her, and then have this incredible, wonderful career that led to this beautiful book that just came out in January of 2024, How to Get on Podcasts. So let me talk a little bit about your book. I said you have everything that anyone needs to put out a podcast, all in these beautiful pages. I don't even know how many pages it is, but I know that from your ability to cultivate those relationships, you're able to strengthen other people or help other people strengthen the message. And that's why this is so profound. It's really a very overwhelming concept if you don't have something like this to fine tune and focus you, that you're like, oh, this is too big for me, I can't do it. But when you provide something like this, tell us a little bit about your book now, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's exciting. I've always wanted to write a book, and yet I didn't know what you write on. I had a book coach on my show, and she was like, "Well, what are you known for, and what do you know how to do?" And I'm like, "Well, podcast pitching now." And she goes, "Then that's what your book should be." And so I wrote down literally everything I know about podcast pitching, from how to create your unique speaking topics, and those are broken down into friend categories. So the different types of friends you have, like your lifelong friend who you've known since you were in kindergarten and you can call any day of the week, even if you haven't talked for 5 years, and simply pick up where you left off, then that's your personal journey story. And I relate all of these things to friends, while the entire book is related to a dinner party, because a podcast host is your dinner host. They're inviting you into their home, their show, and you're showing up as the dinner party guest. So are you engaging? Are you present? Are you giving of yourself in the conversation, your knowledge, your stories, what's been going on in your life? And then in the end, how are you thanking them? Did you send that text message the next day or a handwritten thank you card? Well, did you post about your podcast interview more than in your Instagram stories and being lazy for 24 hours? Did you actually repurpose it into greater marketing content that says thank you?
Yeah.
So all of that's in the book, along with templates on how to do it. And I give everything because I want people to not only have access to do it, to know how to do it, but for the industry itself to start having these standards, to say that, I get it from both hosts and I get it from guests.
Yeah.
Hosts are saying, well, they're not, no, guests aren't sharing their interviews, and it's really frustrating. And then I get guests, myself included, who don't even know that a podcast has gone live because the host hasn't shared any of that. So we need to create these standards of saying, no, this is the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
throughout the book, each chapter also will tell you what's a host up to, from how they are launching their show, everything that goes into it, how they're editing it, how they're repurposing it, so that as a guest, the amount of work that the host is doing just for you, for your episode to go live so they can share it. So I wanted that whole 360 view for everybody to know what goes into it, the work, the effort, the time, the money.
And the fact that you think of it as a dinner party, how cool is that? Like, you want to be a good dinner party guest so that you get invited back if it's a good one.
Yes, I love a good dinner party.
A dinner party. Oh, for sure. And then we have the podcast matchmaker is your tagline, is your TM, your
I made it
trademark.
up.
Tell me where did you get that? How did you come up with that?
Because I match clients with hosts, and I want to make that perfect match. Now, I have put together a few marriages.
Have
In
you
real
really?
life, yes, I've introduced some couples that are now married. I didn't mean to, it just kind of happened, but I have a knack of saying, "You know what? You should meet this person," or "This story would be great over here."
Yeah.
And so it's a matchmaking process to
Wow.
make sure that everyone wins and, it's that mutual benefit type of thing
Yeah.
that goes into it.
That's so cool. So literally you became a matchmaker by virtue of
Yes.
the fact that you submitted a name. I love that. That's so manifesting, right? That is so manifesting. Well, let me ask you one thing with regard to what you want individuals to take away from this book, because I think that, that intention that you put out when you wrote it, I know giving people the tools to do so, but I also think that there's this little magical takeaway that you hope everybody gets that makes their world even better.
It's really that your story is important.
Ah,
No matter what your story is, whether you think that everyone else has been through what you have, so why would you share your story? It's not important. It is because it's unique to you. And the way you tell your story is unique. The way you have taken steps to get through whatever you've been through is unique. And
right.
I think that in sharing your story on a show, is
Yeah.
going to help the listeners because someone out there needs to hear your story. Someone thinks that they're alone, just as you think that you're not the only one who's been through it. So why would anyone want to hear it? Because someone needs to hear that you went through it and they can too. And whether that's your personal story or how you launched your business or how you do something special in marketing, we want to hear it because we need to hear it. We need that help. And that's the beauty of podcasts, being able to listen to these conversations for free, to get the knowledge, to be inspired, to be motivated and eavesdrop on conversations. I'm the biggest eavesdropper there is. Like, I love going to a restaurant and I'm like, "Shh, honey, something's going on over there.
Oh
Oh,
my God.
they had an argument. You won't believe what he did."
Oh,
That's
that's
me.
great.
So a podcast, you get to do that on purpose.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And we have Leslie in the room and she also is an author. Welcome, Leslie. And she's like, yeah, we all need to share our stories. It's so true. It's like that is what makes this living experience even that more profound and wonderful. I love the fact that we all get inspired by certain things. So I always ask my guests to share with me personally the inspirations that get them through the day. So we have these beautiful pictures for those in the podcast world listening of beautiful Michelle in front of her microphone, and basically this is the first quote: by podcast guesting, doing interviews and sharing what you know, you can ultimately change someone's life. I love the fact that this is your words to inspire us. Tell me what your thoughts are around that.
So whenever a client joins me, they get a card, and at the front of the card, it says, "Your voice will change the world." And it's the waveform of my voice saying that, because I really feel that our voice, our stories, hearing all of these things is what is going to change the world. To
Yeah,
know that we are not alone in such a messed up world that it is. There's something negative all the time,
yeah,
and yet to hear the stories of someone else and for you to
beautiful,
use your voice for good, to let someone else know, this is
beautiful.
what I went through. I'm not afraid to share it, and here's how I got through it. That's how we're going to change the world and build empathy and
Love
just be there for one another.
Absolutely agree with you. And I think that, the way the world seems so overwhelming sometimes and a lot going wrong, these are the things that are going right when people certainly offer their vulnerability, basically, that other people can benefit from. And then we get to go to this wonderful one once again. Being vulnerable and honest are two of the most human traits you can show another person. If you're genuine and share yourself, you're going to succeed in everything you do. And this is another Michelle quote. So tell me, what are your thoughts around this?
I hate the word be authentic. I hate the word authentic because I feel if you're saying it, then you're not.
Well,
You know, if I come on here and I'm like, this is my true authentic self,
yeah.
then it probably isn't, because I would never in a million years say that. But if I come here and I'm telling you, like, this is my everyday life, this is what I love doing, And you can see it not only in how I'm telling you it, but then you can also go to my Instagram page. You can go to my podcast and you see that I am the same person that you will meet in person. And it shows up. People see that. We can see what the truth
Yeah.
is. And if you are who you say you are everywhere and in real life, then people will they'll understand and they'll like you for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can't stand when someone says, oh, go on podcasts so you can sell your product or your book or your service.
Yeah.
I say, no, that's gross. Go on a podcast to share yourself and your
Yeah.
journey and your story, and
Yeah.
the rest will follow because people will fall in love with you.
Yeah.
And that's going to be what they're going to go, oh, I want to go buy your book
Yeah.
because you sound so great on this
Yeah.
show. Imagine how you must sound in this book that you've just written. So I
Yeah.
truly believe if you are just yourself, share as much as you can, be as open as you can, then that's what's going to really make people fall in love with you and want to buy whatever it is that you're selling if that's, you know, the end goal in the background.
You know, it's like they get to take a piece of you home with them, you know, a
Yeah.
little memento of all the magic that is you, which I love that. I totally agree once again. And then I love this picture of you. It's you're really looking like you're having fun. But the only time that I believe you can fail is when you don't try, you don't show up. And this is like preach, sister. That is so true. Tell me what your thoughts are around this one.
Well, you know, I left a career of 18 years. I didn't fail. I was there. I showed up. I did great. You know, I had accolades to back it up. And then I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I tried event planning. I tried social media marketing. I tried these things. It doesn't mean that I failed. I just figured out that I didn't want to do them.
Yeah.
That's really what it came down to. You know, I didn't fail in anything. And I think if you don't try something, then you do fail. When I wrote the book, I said, I want to be traditionally published. If I don't get an agent, I don't get a publisher, then I have a backup plan.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try this first.
Yeah.
And just if you don't get it, it doesn't mean that you have failed anything. You just choose a different lane, you know, go a different direction
Yeah.
and figure out what will make it work. So that's what's really behind that is you can't fail. As long as you try, you won't fail.
You know, have you always been like that? Has this always been a part of you?
Apparently it has.
Yes.
Even when I didn't notice, you know, when it's truly I am who I am, and I think that I don't notice these things about myself. I have a very dear friend, Karen, who we've been online friends for, oh my gosh, since before this all started. So it's been a long years and years. We've now met in person too. So it's not a weird online relationship. Um
I have many of those, so I'm no judgment from me, that's for sure.
but she reminds me that I've always been this way. And she goes, you whenever you say something, you do it. And you're like, well, you know what? This year I figure I'm going to work more with this type of client. And I just go do it. And it's just the way that my mind works
Yeah.
is this is the path that I want to go down. So I'm just going to go down it. Oh, that didn't work out. Okay, well, let's go try this.
Oh, I love
It's just who I am. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Well, without using the word authentic, I don't think it's like a bad word, but I will always like think about that. But it's true. It's like, yes, I am this. Well, are you? Because you want that to be that, or is that something you're trying to manifest into the world? I understand that. But yeah, you don't show up, you don't try, you don't live. And I think at the bottom of all of our, you know, stories, you know, it's that journey. How did we live? How did we show up? How did we, you know, shine in certain ways? How did we find our strengths? I love that you're saying this. This is really important. And I think that everything that you just said is very beautiful in that it's like seeing a person, you know, it's like, you know, you'll figure it out. You'll become, once you step into something that actually fits, not a failure, which I think is something a lot of people need to hear. No, you tried, you didn't fail. You just learned that you don't want to do that and you move on, which thank you for that. I appreciate that a lot. I mean, there's a lot of beauty that comes from that, you know, lifting of heaviness. You say that how you're manifesting your life today is in line with that greatest strength and gift that you have to share with the world?
Definitely. Yes. I'm living each day. I love it. I wake up and I'm like, "Oh, I love what I do." I don't dread the Mondays, or get the Sunday blues like, I used to.
Yeah.
I'm constantly laughing. You can see the smile plastered on my
Yeah.
face. Someday there will be lots of wrinkles from all of the smiles.
I would
And
prefer wrinkles from that than others, like the worry lines, not so much, but the smile lines, you can have that. Sure. Absolutely.
and definitely playing. I now it's funny because the kids they're in public school and it's like every 6 weeks they have a week off. I feel like that's truly what it is. There's winter break, there's ski week, there's spring break, it's all of these constant things. And yet I've now created this life and this business where I go, okay, that's fine. We just cross out those days on the calendar and I'm not going to work. And I do answer emails. Like I don't just
Yeah.
clock out,
Yeah.
please. But I will block it out and make sure that there are no meetings that are going on and we play and I get to be present and fully live this life that we have because it's short, it's precious and
Precious.
you never know what will happen.
I agree. I think that we all need to have those things that guide us. And you are saying this your experience right now. You are showing up very differently, especially with your kids. That's going to really make a difference to them. How have you seen this service to others is changing your experience on a personal and professional lane?
I've become more and more outspoken. I
Mhm.
think that even in my corporate career, I was more outspoken, but I did have a manager who said, you don't sit at the table. And literally, this is all when lean in, lean
Yeah.
out, all of those things were becoming popular. And I would show up to a conference meeting and sit at the table. And she goes, well, no, you should be sitting back there in the corner. And I went, well, why? I was invited. I'm going to sit here. And then I was that employee who said, well, let me just tell you my candid thoughts. This isn't going to work.
I
And
love
here's why. And,
that.
there were certain VPs who were like, thank you for saying
Yeah.
that. And there were others who were like, no, you're just supposed to say yes.
Oh my
And,
God.
now I'm in this space now where I'm like, well, I'm just going to show up and say what it is,
Yeah.
whether I'm saying what my political beliefs
Yeah.
are, or who deserves to have their rights always.
Yeah.
Hello, women.
Yeah.
um, I'm showing up, I'm saying it, and I'm not apologizing for it. I'm not making my voice go smaller. I think that's been a difference, and it makes some people uncomfortable, and that would be the personal life aspect of people. I get uncomfortable when someone says, oh, you're so inspiring, you're using your voice. I'm like, wait, what? I've had to do therapy for this. And my therapist is like, well, you can ask them why
Yeah.
they feel you're inspirational. And so I've done that and then I'll write it down or I put it in an email, and put it
Right.
over in a folder because that makes me, I'm like, well, why would I be? I'm not
Right.
inspirational. I'm just showing up and speaking what I think is the truth
Right.
to me. Professionally, it's getting to work with people that I really enjoy. And that's been, in the corporate world, you don't get to choose who you work with.
Okay, so
Um,
I'm gonna segue right here and
okay.
share with us the Richard Branson Island story because
Oh,
that is such a cool story, and I told you I was gonna ask you, and I asked you if it was okay, so I'm asking you now, so
yes. So I was invited with the Business Chicks. It's an Australian networking group that was here in America. It's more so in Australia before, to go to Necker Island, which is Richard Branson's private island, for a week. And so I flew down. It was like the longest 20 hours ever from California to I think I went to, did I go to Florida? I went somewhere and then I went to Puerto Rico and then you go, and then you literally get on a boat for an hour and then you get to the island finally.
okay, it
So
sounds to me like the Barbie movie, how they get back to the real world,
yeah,
like, this is your trip to Richard
yeah.
Branson
Oh, you
Island.
know what? I went to New York. I didn't go to Florida. I went to New York to go down to Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yes, Beef Island.
Beef
It's
Island, okay.
something else, yes, but then it's Beef
Yeah.
Island, then you take another boat and you finally get there, but then it's like out of Real Housewives where, you're met there and they tag your bag and your luggage disappears, and all of a sudden you get to your room and poof, there's your luggage, and, you have this view of the ocean. It was so magical and just y you wake up to the ocean and it's beautiful, and there was yoga, of course, and there's
Of course.
breath work. I was telling you this, like, I don't do that regularly, but if I'm forced to, I'm like, "Oh, this is wonderful. I should do more of it." I
Yeah.
don't. And we had speakers and presenters. And of course, Sir Richard was there, but I now get to call him Richard because we're friends. And I am one of those people where I don't, since I worked for so long in corporate aviation, I can be awestruck by a celebrity, but I've been trained not to
Oh,
show it.
yeah.
So there he was we were at dinner and everyone's having happy hour before and he's sitting by himself. And there were some women who were like, "Oh, hello, hello." And I was like, "Oh no, he will come to me at some point and say hello." And I sat down at dinner and he came and he says, "Is anyone sitting next to you?" And I was like, "No, no, you are." And that dinner was over 2 hours long. And we talked about my book and his book. He felt that How to Get on Podcast should have been named Kiss. Keep it simple, stupid, because
Oh,
that's more attractive. And I
okay.
did pitch that and they said no. Uh,
But you have your podcast is called
My
The
Simplified Life.
Simplified
Yes, that's why. And he didn't know that at the time. And I told him, I'm
Life.
like, "Oh, this would actually kind of be perfect." He's like, "See, there you go. That's it." But yeah, we had this wonderful, I told him before I got to the island, I read one of his books, Losing My Virginity. I think it was that one. And so I felt like I knew him. And he said, "Well, if you know me, then I guess you need to tell me about yourself so I can feel the same and we will actually be friends."
Oh my
So it
God.
was amazing. Yeah. When the book came out, he and his team, because we all know he doesn't really do his social media,
Yeah.
uh, commented congratulating me on the book.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
special.
So that is my Richard story.
That's
We
special.
went sailing. We were on, yeah, a pirate ship together. So it was very cool.
That's really special. That's a great story. I love it. Thank you for sharing it here. I appreciate that too. Back to the full circle moment of how we get to be intentional in this show. I think that one of the important things is to show up where you go with intention. So I asked you what your intention was for the show, and then pick your page in the Magical Guide to Bliss.
My intention was for abundance because I want abundance in my world. I want abundance for everybody else listening, for abundance in knowledge, in sharing, in showing up, in financial, because why not?
Why
If
not?
we're gonna go for it, we might as well go for it.
Might
So
as well.
it was all of that. And then I picked the number 333 because of the abundance relation to it.
So tell us what 333 is all about in the Magical Guide to Bliss.
It's the angel number of, abundance, and then I have to go back and read what the page 333 was.
So I'll tell you, it's about gratitude.
Gratitude, thank you,
And
yes.
it actually the number hits on the actual November month, the intro. So I always say when people pick a number that matches the actual day of gratitude, then something wonderful is definitely going to happen for you. So tell me how gratitude fits in. And I love your story about your gratitude journal. So share with us that as well.
So I was doing the gratitude journal that you get on Amazon, where you write down every day 3 things that you are grateful for. And I had kind of stopped. And then I was having a good chat with my good friend, Sylvia Vasquez Lovato, author of In the Shadow of the Mountain. And she said, you got to get back into the gratitude journal. You just have to at the end of December. And so she goes, "Oh, and it's on sale." So I went on Amazon, I bought it, and then told my husband he was giving it to me for Christmas. And so I wrapped it and gave it to myself. And so I've been using it again this year, writing in it every single day of, what am I showing up for that I'm grateful for? And it can be like this morning, I was really grateful for the coffee. Um, it can be the simple things. And then some days it gets much bigger. But I love that, I set the intention of what are the 3 things I want to get done today? And then what were the 3 amazing things that happened today? And, wrapping it up of what could I have done better? And I find I'm struggling with the what could I have done better part because every day it's the same thing. And it's like movement,
Consistent.
walk, do something for yourself. And I'm still not doing it. So
Oh, wow.
that'll be the gratitude thing of one of these days I will get my butt in gear and, go for a walk. And then I'll go, "Oh, I'm grateful. Actually, 3 amazing things." I don't have to say that that's how I could have improved the day.
Well, I always tap into the extraordinary person by virtue of what they decide to do for themselves, especially if a year, like a year. This year, I'm going to do a gratitude journal and see what happens. So, how has that helped you manifest the things that you want, that abundance that you're looking for so far? It's March now.
It is. Yes. It's a great reminder for me to appreciate how far I've come
Mm,
and to know that I'm capable of even pushing that even further.
I like it.
And that's really what I remind myself every day of, be grateful for where you are and you are capable of more. And then also, I tie it into yeah, I need to do more movement, but at the same time, remind myself that I am beautiful as I am.
Yeah, I
And
love
so it all kind of ties into reminding myself of what you've done and, your hopes for the future and how that is attainable.
I love that. Well, the cool thing in life is that we show up for wonderful events. And this is where I got to meet you at the third annual Zibby Awards this past February. That was in LA in the Zibby bookstore. And of course, our story began as you were leaving. I think you were
Yes.
running back to San Jose. And I was like, oh, I need to say something to this wonderful person. I need to know a little bit about her story. But your book won for the category of
The book for the knowledge hunter.
for the knowledge hunter. What kind of hit did you get when you found out that you won that particular category, the best book for the knowledge hunter?
Just winning anything. I was like, What?" And then I had a book signing in the store too. So again, it's to have been someone who's been in the bookstore, who have seen other authors
Yeah.
be there, to want that for myself, and now to go, "Oh, I've done it too, and I won an award." And I have my award right here on my desk.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, it's surreal to think that this is all happening and that ultimately I've made it happen. It didn't happen to me. Like, I wrote the book. I went out and got it into the world.
Yeah.
And so I made this happen. And yeah, it's definitely it's a therapy moment.
Those are lovely. I love that you call it a therapy moment. It's like, I always say that there's things that we do and we get that keep it going, keep the party going. I want to keep the party going as long as I can possibly. And those endorphin hits, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not an imposter. Here I am showing up.
Yes.
It's being seen. And you haven't stopped there. You've also been on many different modalities. I saw that you were on CNBC for one interview as well. Tell us a
Mhm.
little bit about that.
CNBC was unrelated to the book. It was an interview because I grew up in Paradise, California, where the campfire in 2018 burned
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire town down. And my mother lost our childhood home, all of the belongings that were in there. And, it all ties back to PG&E, our public utilities out here company. And I had posted a tweet back in the last election. We were having a mayoral campaign here in San Jose, and the former mayor posted something about one of the candidates taking money from PG&E, and I replied in my tweet of, any candidate who is funded and backed by PG&E will never have my vote. And then fast forward, I'm at a Zibby retreat. It's funny how Zibby keeps popping in, right? In Solvang, and I get an email from a producer at CNBC who said, "We just saw your tweet from 2 years ago, and we'd like to interview you on this story." So the entire crew actually came to the house. Brian Sullivan from Last Call was here. They flew
Wow.
him in from New York. I had 3 cameras, the producer, and they've aired 2 different clips in December, and then the full 11-minute mini docu-series, they called it, aired last month, exposing really not just PG&E, but, the Hawaii fire that
Yeah.
happened in Maui. There's now one that's happened in Texas, and how these utility companies are not maintaining what they have. And yet, for us in California, we are getting charged more and more and more, and they made $2 billion last year,
Wow.
but yet we still have all of these fire risks and whatnot. So it was really to share what living in paradise was like, what my parents have gone through,
Yeah.
and how, we need to do more this is a government run company,
Yeah.
it's publicly traded, but the PUC is allowing this to happen. So to
Wow.
really expose that fact and to have people start standing up to say we deserve better. So that was CNBC.
Well, you're speaking your truth in many ways. And I like, look, it rises to meet you where when you start to stand up for the things that you believe in, the universe rises to meet you. And no matter where you are, I love that you were at a Zibby, retreat at the time.
It
That
was a Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and I'm like, "Yeah, I can take the call. I'm just here having my coffee, I'm about to
oh
go on
my
a wine
God.
tasting event."
Oh
Yeah.
my God, I love it. Oh, that's great. That's great. Back to you and your wonderful award as a knowledge hunter. Where next are you going to show up?
Oh boy. I will be live in the Bay on Cron 4 on Monday, actually.
Oh,
Um, that
very
will be
cool.
showing up. Uh, I'm just showing up every day, whether it's on social media, on my show, wherever I can show up on other shows, and
Love it.
we're going to see what the future holds.
I
There's a
love it.
novel maybe in the works. I don't know. We
Your
will see.
future is most definitely bright as you are, and everybody, she is just glowing on my screen right now for those in the podcast world. One of the things I just wait for, I think, is you sharing with us. I love this. This is your therapy moment today with us. What is your inspiration to share with the audience today as we face our days with new eyes, having spoken to you?
To share your story. It
Love
really just I hope that I inspire other people to start talking,
it.
to share your story with whoever it is. We don't I've said this before, one of my very first podcast episodes of myself was why I love funerals.
Oh my God.
Because we get to hear the stories
Ah,
of this individual, and yet what a shame is it that we didn't hear all of these stories when they were alive. So share your story. I want to know there. I have a neighbor that we've been saying for years, we need to hear more of his story because he was
yeah.
in an internment camp during World War II. And yet he was actually just in the hospital. I drove his wife to the ER 2 weeks ago, and I came home and I go, oh my gosh, we still haven't heard his story. We need to hear the story before it's too late. And so just listen to the stories, share your story because we want to hear it. And it's what's going to bring people together. We shouldn't wait until the person is passed to
I
hear the
love
stories. So share.
I agree. And so the shining the light is on you and your beautiful book, How to Get on Podcast. How do people find you? Where can they go to get in touch with you if they want to interview you so you can share more of your beautiful story?
Thank you. My personal website is michelleglogovac.com. The agency website is the mlgcollective.com. My podcast is My Simplified Life, and I am on Instagram at Michelle Glogovac. I'm on Threads, on Facebook, on X, on all the places. So you can totally find me just by checking my name. It is
Okay.
there.
So we're going to go ahead and spell your beautiful name because I was having a little bit of a hard time. MICHELLEGLOGOVAC. So
Yeah.
at michelleglobovac.com, correct?
Yes.
All right, there we go. So, wow. So now she has inspired us all today. I really have enjoyed this conversation with you. You are a light. I love that you are showing up in the world as you are, never giving up, always offering some beauty. And I do want to share this beautiful picture of you with the roses. I love it for all of you on the podcast world as she's sitting in front of her mic and there's beautiful red roses and she's just beautiful. So you guys, as
Thank
a person
you.
inside and out, I can definitely say reach out to Michelle, get to know her stuff, get to read her book, go follow her, show up where she is. You are going to want to bask in the information that she has that she's so happy to share with everybody today. And with that, I'm going to show your book again. I love the cover, by the way. Is this your design or did they actually offer that to you?
They offered it to me after I gave them a bunch of do's and don'ts.
Okay. So you have definitely guided them on this journey for sure.
Yes, it's definitely branded.
I love it. So go connect with her. And at the same time, final word goes to you.
Boy, thank you so much, Meg. The almost 2 hours, you will be on My Simplified Life, so everybody can hear your story as well. I'm so appreciative of what you bring to the world, your story and your light, because you are just a beautiful person.
Okay.
And I hope that everybody who listens put yourself out there in the world. We want to hear your story. We need to hear your story. Your story is important, and utilize podcasts for that, because they will change the world. And ultimately, it's not all about you, but we know it's about you. So go out there and share of yourself, and the rest will come for your book, your product, or your service.
I love it. Preach, sister. It's amazing on this month of the women shining bright. I thank you for your, service to the world. And I also thank you for your presence here today with me. You guys, it's time to manifest living fully, loving intently, and laughing more. And of course, yes, finding ways to play in the podcast world. I say go get them. And if you don't know how to go get them, go talk to Michelle. She'll help you. So, butterflies, get ready to dazzle. I really believe in you. It's time to shine, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, everybody.